Hello and welcome to Ways to Change the World. I'm Krishnan Guru-Murthy, and this is the podcast in which we talk to extraordinary people about the big ideas in their lives and the events that have helped shape them. My guest this week is an actor. He's currently in the National Theatre's production of the Lehman Trilogy. It's a take on the founding and disaster involving one of the most famous banks in the world. It's contemporary, given that we are still covering bank collapses even this week on the news. And Michael Balogun has got one of the most inspiring personal stories as an actor I think I've ever heard. So thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell me about what you're doing at the moment, first of all, because it's bizarrely contemporary.
So essentially, the Lehman Trilogy is a play about, people always think that it's going to explain how the banking collapse happened in 2008, but it's not really about that. What it's about is like how that institution first started.
As an actor, what do you enjoy about being on the stage?
That's a good question. I just like telling stories. I like to tell stories. I like the idea. There's something about a stage, something about being on stage to me. It's almost like a kind of a spiritual experience sometimes, because you've got all these people in the audience who are all there to kind of watch what you're doing. And they know you're not King Lear. They know I'm not Emmanuel Lehman. They know that, we all know that. But there's this kind of collective agreement that we have where we all go, you know what? As long as you do a good enough job, we will surrender and we will believe you're that person. And if you do a good enough job, they just forget the disbelief and they kind of surrender to it. And their observation of the play also becomes a part of the performance. There's an element of magic that's involved. You know, there's an element of, I have to convince myself that I am this person. And if I can do that well enough, then something else kind of takes over, and my subconscious kind of takes over, and then I'm doing things, I'm like, oh, I'm not even controlling it anymore. Do you get what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, because that's pact between the audience and the actors is often something that people struggle with. You know, not everybody can do it. You know, when you hear people say, I don't like theatre, I don't like
100%.
I don't like the pretense of it.
Yeah.
So how do you feel theatre sits now in the world we live in which everything is about video, television, phone?
I know that even now, you know, doing a play in the West End especially, that isn't a musical is really difficult. They're just not financing them. And I think after the pandemic and things that happened during that period of time, it's just made theatre really difficult. But I think there's still a desire for it. There's still a desire to go and witness something happen in front of you in real time. You know, screen is brilliant because, you know, you can really surrender to the set and to what's going on around you, but whatever. But theatre is a very different experience. Because to me, theatre is like church. When I go and watch a play, I like to watch plays about things that are like real issues. And you watch these characters go through these experiences, and I like to leave going, I've learned a little bit more about something in life because I've watched that play. I remember I watched the play at the National Theatre called Downstate about this group of men who were basically living in this halfway house for all kinds of heinous crimes against women and children. And obviously, as someone who's been to prison, in prison, if you get found out for being involved in crimes like that, you could be in a lot of trouble. And I've always had a very specific perspective about people like that, you know? And I think obviously it's disgusting, but watching that play and the way it kind of talked about those issues, I realized that, you know, without trying to judge anyone, those people just need help. They've obviously been through some disgusting, horrible things that no one should go through, and it's made them the way they are. So they need to be helped. And as a society, you know, is it right? That's what the play was asking. Do we shun people like that? Do we forget about them and cast them out? Or should we help them? Do you get what I'm saying?
So if you go to theatre with an open mind, there is something to learn.
100%, yeah.
When did you discover that?
I discovered that so basically I was in prison, and I'd never been to see a play before. I'd only ever seen Starlight Express when I was in primary school with my little sister. Right? We went as a group with a school trip. And I was in prison, and I was coming towards the end of a long sentence, and I was meant to be working in the kitchens at RADA. I couldn't chop the vegetables up fast enough, so they put me on the bar. And I remember the first time I saw a play that really moved me. And when I was working on a bar, they were doing this play called Mercury Fur. And I remember thinking, why do people coming out of the theatre, coming up to the bar going, I need a double brandy now, or I need a shot of this now. And some people come out crying. I remember thinking, what are they doing in there? What's going on in that room? So I was like, I just became really curious. So I was like to my manager was like, when it's quiet, you can go and watch it. So I went in there, really small space. Everyone was sat on the floor, really intimate space. 5 actors, not a lot of set, not a lot of costume. But a lot of the issues in that play were things that had affected me in my life. Things like drugs, things like, relationships with mothers and sons, things like, parents leaving their kids, abuse, all these really dark issues that were coming up in the play. You know when you watch a really good film or you're reading a really good book and it's like, you're reading it or you're watching it and it's like after a while, you suddenly go into this kind of meditative state where you're not really thinking about yourself at all. You're completely surrendered to what's going on in front of you. That happened to me. And I was just watching this play. I was on the edge of myself, if that makes sense. I was watching it, and then when it finished, I came to, and I was like, what the hell was that? I walked out of the theatre, went outside, started crying. It's like a catharsis, like a real catharsis. And while I was outside crying, this couple came out, and the woman in the couple was crying as well. And she looked at me, she's like, did you see that? I was like, yeah. And then we just had a cheeky little 5-minute little meeting about it. And then I went back to prison that night. And I was like, so when I was going back to prison at this period of time, because some people weren't going out yet, so they'd wait for the people that were going out to come back to be like, tell us what was it like out there? And I remember guys, take a seat, mate. I need to tell you this. And I remember I basically reenacted the play to this group of prisoners sat in front of me. And I remember watching them and they were just like pure silence. And then when I finished, my mate Marvin was like, fam, you're an actor, You're an actor, blood. Do you know what I mean? Marvin, he's gonna remember, yeah. Marvin said that to me straight after. He was like, they saw the play. They watched the play.
And they saw
me.
you.
Yeah, they watched the play through me. They watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. What I mean is they saw what you
they saw what I reenacted.
were to become.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you were. I mean, you, in that story, you've unfolded what a dramatic change, if you'll pardon the phrase, your life has seen. Can we go back to the beginning? I mean, because you talked about mothers and sons and childhood. So let's go back to your childhood.
Yeah.
What was your childhood? Where were you?
Yeah, so I grew up in Vauxhall, in Kenneton. I went to St. Anne's Primary School. It was me, my 2 sisters, my mum. And when you're a child, you don't really realize what's wrong. My dad was I'd only seen him a few times. And you just kind of normalize things. I think as a child, you're still trying to figure out what the world is. So
everything's normal.
Everything's normal. So my dad not being around to me was normal. But then you'd go out and you see friends who'd had their mum and dad, and you go, oh, is that normal? Obviously, I grew up on an estate. And most people in my estate it was a very diverse estate. We're talking, this is early 90s. So the people on this side were Filipinos, the people on that side were Portuguese. It was a very diverse estate. But all the families on this block had some dysfunction. Do you get what I'm saying? But, my mum, I remember a period of time when she was working in a hotel. I remember a period of time when she was working as a cleaner, I think. And then, as I got older, she started to be around less and less. And I didn't know, and she'd always said she was away on business. So I thought she was, I didn't know what business was, but I knew she'd turn up, every now and again with bundles of clothes or bundles of things, bundles of this. And as a child, that was just normal to me. But then, people talk now about abandonment issues. And I remember her going away and coming back and that being a real strain on me as a child, my mum's not around, and then when she's coming back, we never knew, and then she'd come back, and then she'd go, and then she'd come back. And then, at this period of time as well, just to say it, I used to love reading books. I used to love films. I loved watching films. I loved reading books. I love sci-fi. I love action, even drama. I was into all of it. And Yeah, I used to sing in the choir. To me, nothing was strange.
So you were already a performer.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I didn't know I was. I didn't actually know I was like, we're talking like between the age, we're talking about around the age of like 7, 8, 9. And I remember getting picked to be in the plays and stuff like that. But at the time, it was just what you did at school. I didn't think, oh, I'm a performer. And then one day, obviously, unfortunately, my mum got taken away. She went to prison. And I, obviously, as a child, I didn't realize, I was like, what's she done? Because obviously, as a child, in your mind, you're watching TV, you're watching crime dramas, you're watching things, and you're going, oh, that's what the police do. And that, they go for people like that. So in my mind, I couldn't fathom the idea that my mum was doing things. I was like, it's got to be a mistake. They're going to find out it's a mistake. She's not that kind of person.
When you say she went away, did you see her being taken away?
No. She left that morning, and then she never came back. And then in the evening, the police turned up to our doorstep, and we're like, we need to search the premises. Like, your mum's been arrested for this and that and whatnot. And then they came in the house and they started tearing it apart, searching everything. And I remember just standing there watching them, thinking just how surreal it was. I remember that.
And what were they looking for?
Drugs, yeah, and money, I think. And then I remember even me as a child, I remember thinking, I should help these guys. Because child, you don't really know what's going on. I was like, do you want any help? Like, do you need anything?
The police were the good guys?
Yeah. No, not to say my mum was a villain, but I was thinking they're the police. They're here, they're searching his house, they're ransacking it. But even now that I'm older and I look back, there was almost like a kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? It was almost like this kind of, the energy, what they were doing it with, it was almost like there was no thought about the fact that there was 3 kids in this house.
No care.
No care, yeah, there was no care. Then I remember saying to them, is there anything I can do to help? And one of them was like, yeah, get the kettle on. And I just started making a cup of tea. I wasn't thinking anything of it. Just like making him a cup of tea. I knew how to make a cup of tea. My older sister came in and she saw that and she went berserk and it was this whole thing. And then, yeah, they left the house in a complete dump. And and then I still didn't know what was going on. And then I remember even going to see my mum. And obviously you have an idea of what prisons are based on what you see on TV, bars, orange jumpsuits. And we went to Holloway. There was nothing like that. So my mum was like, I think at first she didn't want me to think she was in prison. So she was like, this isn't prison. This is a place where I'm just here for a bit and I'll be coming home soon. I was like, okay, cool. But then I was looking at this on the wall, HMP, prison. I wasn't stupid, do you get what I mean? And yeah, man, it was tough, man. It was a really tough.
And who was looking after you?
At this period of time, it was just me and my sisters.
How old were they?
My oldest sister at the time she must have been about 14, 15, and my younger sister must have been about 6 or 7. I was 8 or 9 at this period of time. I can't remember the exact year it was. But
no adult?
Yeah, no adult. Because what happened was, like I said, my mum was going away and coming back a lot. So my older sister, who grew up in Nigeria, my mum sent for her to come over here because she had 2 kids and she needs someone to help because that's kind of like a Nigerian culture thing. The older sibling kind of looks after the kids. Yeah, so she was very, very, very advanced in terms of domestics. Do you know what I mean?
She knew how
to hold a household together. She could cook. She knew how to hold a household together. She knew how to claim the child benefit support. She knew how to get that money. Yeah. So when my mum went away, I remember because now that I look back, it all makes sense. I remember my mum, we'd always have these meetings about what we weren't allowed to do and what we shouldn't say. If anyone knocks the door, don't open it. If people ask questions, you don't know. All of this kind of stuff.
Because it might be social services.
It might be social services, but also, she's doing things, isn't it? So you just don't talk about that.
Oh, I see your mum when your mum was
there was an element of that to it as well when I look back in hindsight. And then I remember going to school and just everything just started to decline. I was pretty good. Academically at this period of time. But obviously there's a lot going on at home and you're having to kind of contain that and not speak about it and keep it under the surface, keep it under the carpet. But obviously you're a child, so there's only so much acting I could do then. Do you get what I mean? So I'd go to school and I just wasn't myself. And teachers started to notice. They started to notice Michael's just not himself. I remember everyone being like, are you all right? What's going
Did
on?
they not know that your mother had gone to prison?
No, they didn't. They didn't know. They didn't know at all. And then what happened was I got sick one day. I got really sick at school, and the teachers were like, "Michael, we need to speak to your mum. Like, what's happening? Where is she?" And I was like, I mean, remember, this is in the space of a few months. It's not like years. Maybe they would have found out, but this is like a few months after. So like, they were like, what's happening? Like, why? Like, you're sick. Where's your mum? And I'll be like, yeah, I don't know. And then it just started slipping out. I think I kind of wanted to tell someone now. I got to that point, and it slipped out. And I was like, yeah, she's not around, whatever. And then, and then social services got involved, and then, it started to got a bit messy. And then, we went away for a while, and then my aunt came and got us and took us to live with her for a bit. Yeah.
So you've described, what sounds like a sweet boy,
Mm-hmm.
At school, doing well at school, liking books and films.
Yeah.
Something happens
Yeah.
somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
Where you start getting into trouble.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Yeah, I think, like, obviously, looking back in hindsight, I think I was yearning for, like, a family, essentially. I think that is the essence of it. I didn't have a dad in my life. I always kind of looked up to the men that came around when my mum was around. Like, one thing about my mum, she had a lot of male friends, a lot of uncles and, coming around. I had a cousin that I really looked up to. And, I think, because I grew up in a household of just me being the only man. Well, the only male. And I think it started with me trying to find, like, my masculinity, a sense of self, a sense of being a man, of, wanting to stand up for myself. And also, I mean, you start to realize at a really young age, like, especially in London and in the way things are at schools, you start to realize, oh, there's two sides to this thing that you could be on. You could even be someone who's a victim, someone who's vulnerable, or someone who's not vulnerable. And I think because of what was going on in my life at home with my situation with my mum, I kind of made a conscious choice, like, I don't want to be a victim. Do you get what I mean? Because if I'm going to be honest with you, before my mum went away, I think I was a bit vulnerable. When my mum always used to say to you, you need to toughen up. She always used to say that to me, you need to toughen up. Like, you're too soft, you cry at everything, or, do you get what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I started to kind of lean towards a particular, like, you see those groups, the man them that are on the block. I used to see, like, obviously you start thinking, I need to connect with them maybe. And there's this whole thing about, I think when you get into secondary school, you start to become more conscious of how you're perceived. And I started to, wanted to be that guy, or the girls seem to gravitate towards that energy as opposed to the people that were just studying and wanting to, it's funny how that changes later in life. But yeah, so, like, for many reasons, man, I think I wanted to find, I don't know, I think I wanted to, it was almost like a kind of protective, like, desire, and also a way of kind of making my mark on the world as well, in a way. I don't know if that makes sense.
So were you making money? I mean, what were you doing? Was this
Well,
petty crime?
initially it was like, it all starts off with a bit of violence, and is he a good fighter? And that kind of like narrative. And then it starts to go, then people know that, oh, he's good at that, he's good at this. Then you start stealing, then you start, robbing, and then it kind of just starts to kind of escalate. And then I started getting into a bit of weed, then I started selling weed, then I started selling drugs, then I started selling harder drugs, heroin, crack, coke. Then before you know it, that's the lifestyle,
And are you part of a hierarchy now? Are you part of what is it? Is it a firm? Is it a gang? What is it?
Well, the thing is, it's weird because obviously if you've grown up in that kind of energy, around that kind of environment, you don't look at it like that. I probably was in a gang, but not even really aware of it because that was very normal to us. Do you get what I'm saying? And obviously, we're talking like, early noughties, that kind of period of time. It's a very different world to the world we live in today. Do you get what I mean?
What did your older sister think?
We kind of got split up in different ways. And obviously, she was more like a mum to me, to be fair. And she would always talk to me about, you know, what she thought being a man meant, and me taking care of myself and just the basics. So there's only so much she could do. I started to realize that, there isn't actually anyone who's actually focused on me, what I'm doing with my life right now. You know, there was one teacher, Mr. Osgood. I remember him when I went to a school in St. Mary's, called St. Mary's in Croydon. And I remember, I was thinking about this the other day. I distinctly remember this teacher, Mr. Osgood, pulling me up and saying, Michael, what is going on? Like, you're not stupid. You've got potential to make something of your life. I was in all the top classes. I was in the top class for maths. I was in the top class for all the top classes when I was in secondary school. But I just wasn't applying myself because when I went home, there was no one. It was just me. I didn't have any parents telling me you need to do this or guiding me. So I was kind of just living my life like as I wanted to live it, with no real guidance. Like I didn't have anyone who kind of focused on me. So I was having to buy my own clothes. I was having to do all of that stuff myself because I didn't have it. I didn't have it coming in. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think it was a mixture of maybe, you know, poverty, no guidance, no sense of family, no sense of self-worth. Because obviously up until a certain age, your parents are the ones that kind of instill you. Family is very important because they kind of validate who you are, validate your existence. There's someone to talk to, there's someone to love, there's someone to connect with. At this period of time, there was not really that going on for me. So my family became the mandem. My family became the guys around me. That became my family. As harsh as they were, as harsh as that lifestyle was, that's what kind of becomes your family.
And is being in trouble or with the police or going to prison just part of life?
Yeah, like,
you know,
even prison, I remember like, it's almost like a badge of honor up to a certain point, you know, because that's just part of, it's like a bit of training. You know, no one goes into prison. You go to prison, you come out a little bit wiser. It's like I've said this before, innit? It's like a university for criminals. You go to prison, you can come out learning how to cook crack. You can come out learning how to grow weed. You can come out learning how to, do you know what I mean, unlock that safe or whatever it is you do. Because you go in, it's all these criminal minds. You know, you're surrounded by it. But at the same time, you know, people knock prison, and I get why. I don't think it helps. I don't think you can expect someone to change their life by putting them in a room and locking the door, yeah? But what prison does do, this is what I found, what it does do is it gives you a lot of time alone. And if depending on how you think, if you're someone who is quite reflective, you can start to figure things out. And something that I figured out on my first prison sentence, I had this kind of narrative in my head. I used to blame the fact that my mum went to prison on why I was the way I was. It's not fair. The judge doesn't know the life that I've had. The police don't know the life that I've had, all that kind of stuff, right? But then I remember my first sentence, I was in my cell, and I remember thinking, hold on a minute. At some point, there has to come a stage where I have to take responsibility for this. Or else, I'm just gonna be basically like a football being kicked about a pitch by life. Do you get what I'm saying? And that was a real epiphany moment for me. And also, again, another thing is, when I was growing up, my mum was very religious. She was a Christian, newborn Christian, very religious. And that whole, you know, I used to read the Bible growing up, and just having a faith in something was something that when my mum went to prison, I was like, well, that's God out the window then, because if there was a God, he wouldn't have done this.
The point at which you decided you've got to start taking responsibility for your own story in life, did you intend to carry on essentially with the life that you were living at that stage?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I want to get out of crime.
No, not at that stage.
It was
at
just,
that stage
I
was
now
like,
want to take control of my life.
Yeah, at that stage, like, I cannot keep blaming my past for why I am the way I am, yeah? Now, what happened was, I did try and change my life at the time. I remember my first sentence, I started doing this thing for this company called Transco, digging up the roads and changing the pattern. I was doing that for a while. Then I got in trouble again, lost that job, came out of prison, started working at somewhere else, lost that job. It was this kind of like repeated cycle of starting things and never finishing them, or losing it because they find out I'd been to prison, or they'd find out, or I'd be doing things I shouldn't be doing, and then I'd just leave. Another thing that happened was, because when my aunt got involved, I left primary school. I didn't actually finish primary school, right? So it's interesting how, like, you know, if you're someone if things have been quite dysfunctional for you and you've never really finished things, that can become a kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy in your life. And then obviously, like, went back to prison a couple of times. Then I got quite a lengthy sentence for gun crime, that kind of thing. And that sentence was where I had, like, you know, I was in there for 5 years. I had time to really start unpicking things. I did an intensive therapy. I was on this thing called a therapeutic community for like 2 years of that sentence, where you sit in groups and you talk about your criminal thinking, about your life, about why you think whatever happened to you happened to you.
And when you look back at that, Michael, and the Michael you were in prison, do you think if they had done this, if someone had done that, this might have worked?
Without a doubt, but like, without a doubt, yeah. But the thing is, like, you could have 1 million people try and help you if you're in a situation, but no one can change unless they want to change themselves. It has to come from within. It has to come from the inside. I remember the day when I don't want this to sound like I'm patronizing anyone or making myself sound like I'm some kind of like guru. I'm not. I'm just talking from experience, yeah? I remember when I decided I wanted to be an actor, I hadn't really done it. But like, I can't explain it, and this is gonna sound a bit weird, but I know this for a fact, is that when you make a decision in your life to do something, and it's a definitive decision, something happens. You start to notice things that you might not have noticed. The right book or the right quote or the right person suddenly start coming out. And if you're really attuned to it and you're really like aligned with that desire you have and that decision is concrete, you will get what you need to get you there. It will happen. You just have to believe in yourself. If you're that serious, it will happen. And that's what happened to me. I could write out every single detail that happened to me that got me from when I made that decision to be an actor to have me sitting right here in front of this interview. And it is literally, you couldn't write it, things that have happened.
And so, I mean, we started off talking about how you had a prison job at RADA.
Royal
Academy of Dramatic Art.
Yeah.
In the kitchen.
Yeah.
So by the time you got there, have you already sort of begun a process of, I mean, you're talking about a lot of reflection along the way, a lot of thought, a lot of...
Yeah.
Are you already sort of on a process of change, do you think?
Well, yeah. Do you know what it was? So when I got to RADA, I realized, okay, you know what? I need to figure something out. I need to do something that I enjoy. I need to find something that I like doing, that I'm passionate about. So I used to love Gordon Ramsay, and I always loved food. I was like, you know what? I could be a chef. So I started working in the kitchen in the prison, learning the basics. I started working at this place called The Clink. The Clink's a restaurant in a prison where they serve food. So then I was working there for a bit, kept my head down, finished my MVQ in catering, and then this woman, Jules Heckman, God bless her soul, she was like, oh, Michael, obviously, because you're in DCAT, because you've got a year left to serve, we've got you a job working at RADA in the kitchen. So I was like, mate, this is great. And I think working at RADA unlocked something in me that I'd not really had since I was a child. And I think it was that sense of not caring what anyone thought. Because everyone knows, like, on the road, that lifestyle, a lot of what everyone's doing is based on what everyone thinks. That's the sad thing about it. No one really wants to be doing all of that. No one really wants to be breaking the law. No one really wants to be shooting guns or hurting people. No one wants to do that in their soul. It becomes what you have to do to survive.
So at what point did you decide you wanted to be an actor?
Yeah. So what happened was, I go back to prison every evening. One day I decide to sneak a mobile phone in. Yeah, I get caught with it. And they stopped me from going to RADA. Yeah? So I had 5 months left to serve. So I had this massive knock because this was one place that I was going to where I was kind of getting this kind of release. Like, do you get what I mean? It's like I meant something again in the world.
But it gets taken away.
It got taken away, yeah? But this was a real low blow knock, right? So back in prison, back in a normal prison, doors are slamming. They put me in a cell with this guy who lost his dad. He's mourning his dad. I'm mourning RADA. And I was basically I feel like when I look back, I was having a bit of a breakdown. And the officers, I was becoming a bit more erratic. I was in a really dark place, man. It's the darkest place. I've never been at rock bottom as hard as that was. And one day I was like, you know what? I can't do this no more, man. Every time I get an opportunity, I fuck it up. Like, I can't. I was like, this is it. I can't do this life no more. I sat there and I was like, this is it. I'm gone. And then I was like, right, you know what? I'm going to give myself till the morning. And I'm not going to think about anything. I'm going to see if there's any reason that comes up inside of me why I shouldn't kill myself. And I sat there, I closed my eyes, sat there in silence, turned off the TV, turned off the radio. Something just said to me, acting. And I swear to you, I opened my eyes I'm being dead serious. I felt something lift off of me. I felt it. I instinctively knew that was it. I'd never done it. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just knew I was onto something. Something inside of me woke up. Do you get what I mean? And that was it. Next day, this is what I mean about when you make a decision, how things can become revealed to you. Turn on the TV, BBC Hard Talks on. James L. Jones, black actor. Oh my God, it's science. Do you know what I mean? And he said, I thought that when Obama became president, black people would start trying to do things they didn't think they could do. And I was like, yeah, that's for me. Next day, woman comes to my cell, she's like, Michael, we're a bit concerned. Like, we're concerned about you, your mental health. We're talking about probably, if you should stay or maybe go somewhere else where there's more support. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm all right now. She's like, why do you think that? I was like, because I know what I want to do. She's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be an actor. She went, yeah, that's what we're worried about. Those kind of things. Because she thought I was going nuts.
That was your mental health?
Yeah. I was like, no, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. Like, I want to do this. And then she's looking at me and she goes, you know what? I think I believe you. She goes, I'm a part-time drama teacher. It's the first person I've seen since I made that choice. And then she started bringing me in plays every week. She started bringing me in different plays, Shakespeare, King Lear, Macbeth, all these different plays, Importance of Being Earnest, Death of a Salesman, Arthur Miller, like all different kinds of plays. And I started reading them. I started reading at this point reading was like breathing. Then I started going deep. I started going, I need to read stories about people who've been in situations who've made things out of themselves. I started reading about Gandhi, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Nikola Tesla. Another thing people don't say about prison is when you're in prison, because you're stripped away from the outside world, your imagination becomes so vivid. When you have a dream in prison, it's like real, because there's not a lot of stimulation going on. So anything that you read, you can see it. I sent a letter to a friend of mine, Kizza, who was still at RADA. I said, listen, I want to do this. Like, give me some advice. She sends me a letter back going, yeah, okay, try your luck. Maybe try this place called Identity, whatever. But just try your luck, basically. So I was like, so I had someone send me in all of the different drama schools and what the requirements were. So you needed 2 monologues. So I was like, how much it cost? $9,000 a year. I can't get a student loan. I'm not a student. In my mind, the student was like 16 to 19 or whatever. I was like, shit, I'm gonna need to get some money together. So I get out, I start selling drugs. But now I'm doing it with a very specific goal in mind. I'm kind of praying, going, God, if you're up there, like, let me just get away with this. Because I'm doing it for the right reasons. Do you get what I mean? Anyway, 6 months down the line.
Can I just stop you on that? I mean, because did you see selling drugs as wrong?
At this point in my life, no, I didn't.
It was just a means.
It was a means to an end. Because in my mind, I'm like, I don't make these drugs. People were selling drugs way before I came in.
So the whole argument that is constructed by politicians on the whole about
drug dealing,
about drug dealing and ruining lives, and doesn't sound like that will make any sense to the people who are doing it.
Well, the thing is, you got to remember the people that are doing it are on ground level. They don't really know the implications or the strings that are being pulled or the reason why, there are drugs in this country or why, the politics behind it all, we could argue that, is it a result of capitalism? Is it a result of, I don't know, cocaine? Like, a lot, it's weird because you go to these places and these environments and you realize that all the people that are saying you shouldn't be doing it are doing these drugs.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
So you got caught again?
Yeah. So I got caught again, got nicked, go back to jail. After figuring out what I want to do with my life, all of that, I'm back in jail again. Yeah. And then I remember I was in my cell again and I was thinking, I was like almost talking to, like, I don't know what I was talking to. I was like, why? Like, I was trying to better myself. And then in that moment, I remember I had another thought. I read The Alchemist. And I remember going, okay, I've got to completely surrender to this. I've got to completely surrender to the desire of wanting to be an actor. I cannot get on the road, cannot do crime. I've got to put everything into that. And this is the interesting thing, yeah, right? So I'm back in prison, and because I'm back in prison, I'm in the prison where the clink was. So they know me. Lady Edwina. So she basically helped the clink, set the clink up. She's behind that. She was like, Michael, like, what happened? Like, we had so much faith in you. She got really compassionate about helping people change their lives for the better. And I told her what happened, and I told her, right, I want to be an actor, and all that kind of stuff. And then she was like, okay, Michael, well, if you get into drama school, I'll help you.
Pay for it?
Yeah. Now, to her, she doesn't know. She doesn't even know that I went out and selling drugs again, because I lied and I was like, oh, yeah, I just got nicked. Because, But she doesn't know that what she said to me in that moment, it done something to me in my head. I was like, imagine that. I've just gone out to sell drugs to pay for it from leaving prison. I've come back to prison, and you're telling me in prison that you are going to pay me the money that I was trying to get out there to help me get into drama school. So it's like I almost found what I was looking for in the very least place I'd expect to find it. Anyway, I get out. Long story short, I get out. I apply for 4 or 5 drama schools. I got a lot of help. This guy called Andy Johnson, who runs this drama school, he started helping me, wasn't charging me because he knew I was serious. A guy called Peter Sells, Synergy Theatre, Esther Baker. I had a lot of help. And I got into all the schools I applied for, apart from Royal Welsh. And yeah, and I chose to go to RADA because that's where it kind of happened for me. So,
and so how did your RADA course end up being funded?
Lady Edwina, she helped me.
She paid for it?
Yeah. She didn't pay for all of it, but she paid for a lot of it.
So what was your first experience of then being on the stage as an actor?
I remember, because the thing is, it was weird because even when I started drama school, I started having crazy imposter syndrome because I'd never done it. I wasn't like anyone else there. It's not like I'd been having this dream since I was a child and went to all these other things, National Youth Theatre. I'd never done any acting. So this was a complete gamble. Obviously, I'd learned these monologues and I did them, and they obviously saw something in me that I had.
And you were how old?
30, something like that.
So that's quite unusual.
Yeah. Remember, everyone else on my course, you got people who are 18, got people who are 21, got people who are 22. Like, it's unusual for someone to be there at my age. Yeah? It happens. There's been other people there, but, it's quite rare. And my background, they'd never had anyone who'd been to prison before. I'd only been out of prison a year. And now I was in this other institution. Do you get what I'm saying? So as far as institutions go, I knew what I was doing there, but I'd never done the acting. So I was completely green. But I'm one of them people, like, once my mind's set on something, I'm going to see it all the way through. My first time in a professional production, this play called People, Places and Things, which was another National Theatre production. I was only playing a small part, but I remember going, oh yeah, okay, I'm doing it.
I mean, let's get forward then to your life as an actor now. I mean, how much is it a problem or a bonus that you might, if you're in film or TV, that people are asking you to play characters not unlike your old self?
It's a good point. I've done a couple of roles like that. Yeah, I understand why someone wouldn't want to play the same kinds of characters all the time. I understand, the stigma that can come with black people. The drug dealers and the gangs and all that kind of stuff. But I think the industry that we're in now is starting to open up there's a lot of changes going on with that. I think there's more roles, there's more options, there's more, you know, the world is seeing, you know, black people in a very different way to how it used to see black people. But for me, listen, I just want to play very interesting characters. Like, I'm not really into all that. You know, I've done a couple of roles like that, but then also, you know, look, right now I'm playing Emmanuel Lehman. This is a real person who existed. He wasn't even black. Do you get what I mean? For some reason, I've noticed that whenever I play a character or I get the opportunity to play a character, it always correlates with something going on in my life at that time. In this play, there are themes about age and about getting older and, like, you know, a sense of, like, you know, a different stage of your life. Like, what happens when you go past a certain age and you start getting into the later realms of your life? How does it make you feel? You know, children, having family, all these things. And these are things that I've been thinking about, you know, in my life. So it makes sense.
And you now help other prisoners, don't you?
I go into, you know, I've done projects where I've gone into prisons, I've told my story. Because I'm a strong believer in, listen, it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what your background is. If you've got a desire and a wish to do something positive, if you're serious about it, you can make it happen.
And how much of your old life have you still got a contact to? You know, friends, family?
I mean,
do you have to leave it all behind when you change your life?
A little bit. There's an element of that. But at the same time, like, you know, my old life, like, I think I'm just I feel like I've just evolved. There's still elements of me like that. Like, there's still a part of me, there's still elements of me that, it's not like I've changed and I'm not that person anymore. I'm still Michael. I'm still from the area I'm from. I still know the people that I know, but I've evolved. Do you get what I mean? And I don't look, I'm not going like, you know, because I've evolved and because I'm an actor, I'm better than anyone. No, we're all, we're all the same.
You just found your thing.
Yeah, even down to, like, someone on the street begging who's homeless. We're all the same. That's just where they're at that moment in their life. You don't know what that guy could go and do.
I would imagine that when you talk to people, you know, people must think, yeah, but you can't, you know, he's a one-off, he's lucky, you know, we can't all just turn around our lives like that. What do you say in answer to that?
Well, this is what I mean about the way you think. Now, what you just said there, that's a thought process. And if that's what you think, then that is what you will manifest. I used to think like that about other people that I'd see change their lives or whatever. But I've gone away, man, and I've actually studied this. I've studied great men who came from nothing. I've read books about them, and they all say the same things. The same things keep coming up over and over again in all these stories. You have to believe. For what we're talking about here, it's the things you can't see and touch that matter. Your thoughts, your ideas, your heart, your belief, your imagination.
And so do you have a list of things now that you've got to tick off, ambitions that you now believe in, that you're going to go and do?
Yeah, that's a good question. What things that I want to achieve that I'm like, right, I'm doing it. I do have something. I do have one thing in my mind that I want. I'm not going to say what it is. Because I feel like...
You don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's an element of, like, it's an element of keeping it between you and yourself. Do you get what I mean? There's an element to that. Because I think as soon as you start telling too many people what you want, you kind of dissipate the magic of it. And also, now that person's got an expectation on you.
So if you could change the world in any way, how would you change it?
If I could change the world in any way, yeah, I would make it the first thing that we are taught as human beings. That the world within yourself is more important than this outward manifestation of things. Like, your relationship with yourself needs to be good, but essentially, what you see in your mind and what you think to yourself will become a reflection in the outer world. I would want everyone to know that the world within inside yourself, find your own truth inside yourself and live by that, and you will get what you want in this world.
Michael Balogun, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for sharing the way you changed your world.
Yeah.
It's one of the most remarkable stories of transformation I've listened to, I think.
I appreciate it, man. A lot, and I've got a lot of respect for you, man. Honestly.
Thank you very much.